Translator, Dark Angel. Editor, Kurisu Kwang Kwang Kwang. Ling Han's figure stirred, and he once again trod that merciless road of ruin without the slightest pity. Hu Nu had already slipped back to Ling Han's side, wary of being blindsided by the Earth and Water faction. If she were seized and used as a hostage, then even Ling Han would still find himself a touch troubled. Stop! The men of the Earth and Water faction once more tried to bar his way. Yet the instant they so much as made a move, Guang Yuan and his band would move as well. Like the first tile falling, it would trigger a chain, and the hall would again erupt into a grand melee. Please do not make things difficult for us, fellows, Guang Yuan and his group said. Some of the Earth and Water faction's men were already so enraged they spat blood. It was clearly this brat who had first stormed their grounds to stir trouble. So why were they the ones being warned not to move, not to cause trouble for him? Was there any such reason beneath heaven? Wherever Ling Han's gaze landed, he smashed. Hu Nu had turned into a small fiend of violence, and she tore through furniture and ornaments alike, beating them into a state beyond words. Though there were only two of them, one grown man and one child, how could the destructive might of the gushing spring tear be treated lightly? And this vase is not bad. Ling Han lifted up a vase, and with a kuang, it shattered into 100 fragments. He shrugged and said, "Ayo, my hand slipped." Kuang, and yet another exquisite vase was smashed to pieces. My hand slipped again. Kuang, why is my hand so slippery today? Great leader Yang, whenever you have made the decision to compensate me, you can come over and discuss it with me. Ling Han said with a smile as he smashed into pieces a painting that had been hung upon the wall of the main hall, causing Hu Nu to clap her hands in delight. Because the painting depicted a fierce tiger with white eyes that had been hung up, it had obviously offended the little girl. Yang Tiandu's face was dark and cold. After grinding his teeth for a moment, he said, "Make a report to the Imperial Guards. Tell them that someone has trespassed into our residence illegally and is committing a crime here." Leader! The members of the Earth and Water faction all cried out in shock. If they truly reported this to the Imperial Guards, then what face would they have left? They were a grand faction. Yet they had been forced by a young man to the point of relying on the Imperial Guards to settle the matter. If word spread, what pride could remain? Do you think that it'll help our pride to have this kind of situation continue? Yang Tiandu humphed. The rest immediately fell silent. That's right. Ling Han was presently reveling in his destruction and devastation, while they could only stand aside and watch helplessly. If this continued, what was there to be proud of? I'll go. Lu Yue clenched his teeth and accepted this mission. He truly could not bear to keep standing here, watching Ling Han carve his path of ruin, so he might as well leave. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. Then it's up to you, Elder Lu, Yang Tiandu said. Lu Yue departed. Now that matters had come to this, the Earth and Water factions people decided they might as well swallow it and wait for the Imperial Guards to deal with Ling Han. One had to know that the Empire had its own laws. Publicly destroying another's private residence was also a rather grave crime. In only about half an hour, Lu Yue returned with a troop of several dozen Imperial Guards. Though they were not many, and the one leading them was only in the gushing spring tier, their identity as Imperial Guards still stood like a banner. Would Guang Yuan and his group still dare to oppose these Imperial Guards? If they dared to act, that would mean becoming an enemy of the Empire, and that equated to the great crime of treason. The men of the Earth and Water faction had never so desperately wished to see the Imperial Guards until this very moment. Their eyes reddened with excitement as they went up to receive them. Their greetings were so warm that the Imperial Guards were somewhat stunned. These fellows were smiling in a way that felt a bit frightening. We're all men here. Why are you gripping my hand and still refusing to let go? Could it be that you're interested in me? Captain Zuo? Yang Tiandu greeted the minor captain of the Imperial Guards and said, "There is a madman creating great damage in this place of mine, and he disregards the laws of the Empire entirely. Please arrest him and punish him severely according to the laws." Captain Zuo looked at him oddly and asked, "With your ability, you are still unable to apprehend this madman, Master Yang?" The Earth and Water faction's members all flushed. while Yang Tiandu merely said with composure, "We are all good citizens who obey the laws, so how could we so easily resort to force?" Our first reaction was naturally to make a report to Captain Zuo and have the Imperial Guards arrest the criminal. This is the natural course of events, and it abides by the laws of our nation. Tsk. How pleasant these words sound. Captain Zuo's face twitched violently. He naturally knew what sort of characters the Earth and Water faction housed. Hearing Yang Qiandu call himself a good citizen, he suddenly felt the urge to vomit. Thankfully, he managed to suppress it. Otherwise, if he truly vomited over Yang Qiandu, it would not be easily explained, even if he were only a minor captain of the Imperial Guards. Ha ha ha! Leader Yang's tolerance is really impressive, making me think of an animal called the tortoise. Guang Yuan laughed loudly. If Leader Yang returns home one day and sees a lecherous criminal trying to do that to your beautiful little concubine, would Leader Yang still abide by the laws of the Empire and first make a report to the Imperial Guards? Naturally! Another lone cultivator laughed as well. But is it really good to be cuckolded like this? Who knows? Perhaps Master Yang has never had any children all these years, and so would bear being cuckolded just to become a happy father. Ha! The other lone cultivators had never held much respect for anyone in the first place, so they too joined the raucous laughter. Yang Tiandu was so enraged he trembled. Yet he pretended he had heard nothing and said, "Captain Zuo, please uphold justice." "All right." Captain Zuo agreed. This was within his duties. "Where is the madman?" "There." Yang Tiandu pointed toward a place where smoke and dust were drifting out. Clearly, Ling Han was presently wreaking havoc there. Captain Zuo waved his hand and led his men over. After a moment, he finally saw Ling Han and Hu Niu, who were in the midst of their merriment, delighting in ruin. Instantly, his heart shuddered. He had seen Ling Han's portrait before. That was when a strict command had come down from his superiors. As long as Ling Han did not do something atrocious like committing murder, then no matter what else he did, the Imperial Guards were to turn a blind eye, and if he encountered danger, they were even to lend him aid. "Captain Zuo, please act quickly to avoid a greater loss," Yang Tiandu urged from the side, seeing Captain Zuo suddenly not move at all. Captain Zuo sighed, shook his head, and said, "I don't have the ability to deal with this issue." "What?" Yang Tiandu suddenly had the urge to go on a rampage. Not even the Imperial Guards could handle this. "Are you playing with me?" "Master Yang, you're on your own." Captain Zuo revealed a meaningful smile. "Additionally, let me give Master Yang a word of warning. You must definitely not injure this person. Otherwise, I would have no choice but to arrest you." Yang Tiandu's heart was steeped in gloom. He had invited the Imperial Guards to help him, yet now they were standing on the other side. How could he endure this? Captain Zuo said nothing further. With a wave of his hand, the several dozen men all stood off to one side, as though they were there to keep Yang Tiandu under surveillance. In an instant, the Earth and Water factions members cursed Captain Zuo and all his ancestors. How could they be bullied to such an extent? Peng! Peng! On the other side, Ling Han and Hu Niu still smashed and destroyed with glee, and from the look of it, they would not stop unless the entire Earth and Water faction was reduced to rubble. Yang Tiandu sighed, shut his eyes, and curled his hands into fists. Because he had used too much strength, his hands were trembling slightly. After a moment, he snapped his eyes open and said, "Young Master Han, let us come and discuss the matter of compensation." He chose to yield. There was no other way. If they fought with force, Ling Han had 7 spiritual ocean tier elites and 100 gushing spring tier martial artists behind him, enough to crush the Earth and Water faction outright. If they took the official route, Ling Han was even more formidable. The Imperial Guards not only refused to handle the matter, they even stepped up to protect him. What else could he do? Guang Yuan and his group roared with laughter. Leader Yang's divine art of the tortoise is indeed practiced to the point of perfection. You can really pull back so smoothly and so easily. I'm impressed. I definitely wouldn't be able to learn this art. Translator Reverie, Editor Kurisu. Before those jeers and sneers, the disciples of the Earth and Water faction could only grit their teeth and swallow every insult in silence, letting others slap their faces again and again. Ling Han came to a halt, turned his gaze to Yang Tiandu, and laughed. Leader Yang, how do you intend to compensate me? Yang Tiandu's teeth ground together with a crackling sound, yet the times pressed men down. He could only answer with a heavy face. 100,000 silvers. The moment those words left his mouth, he felt as though his cheek were burning, as if someone had whipped him with a vicious slap. He was the master of a faction, a mighty spiritual ocean tier expert. Who would have imagined that he would bow his head to an element gathering tier youth? This was humiliation carved to the bone. Ling Han threw back his head and laughed, then said, Leader Yang, are you treating me like a beggar? With the wealth and might of the earth and water faction, you should be paying several million silvers, shouldn't you? Utter nonsense. Yang Tiandu almost exploded on the spot. Several million silvers. Why not go rob a treasury? The Earth and Water faction was comparable to a middle-class clan, and because they were willing to do filthy work, their income was certainly greater than a middle-class clan's. Yet Ling Han spoke of several million as if it were casual chit-chat. How could Yang Tiandu not be agitated? Even if he sold the entire Earth and Water faction, he still wouldn't be able to scrape together that amount. Impossible, he declared flatly, truthfully. Even 100,000 silvers already made his heart bleed. If there were any other road, how could he submit? Ling Han spread his hands and said, Either way, I've plenty of time to sit here, sip tea, watch a show, and wait for Leader Yang to have a change of heart. Bam, bam, bam. Who knew was still smashing everything in sight? That little girl was a human-shaped monster. She slammed into walls one after another until they toppled, yet she remained completely unharmed, laughing and enjoying herself to the fullest. If this were earlier, Yang Tiandu might have seized Who Knew and put her down, but after witnessing the Imperial Guard's attitude, he knew Ling Han's backing was terrifying beyond measure. This time, he could only swallow the insult down, bitter to the throat. He beckoned his people over, and after learning the details of the affair, he said, Young Master Han, this faction does not know which shops are yours. One who does not know is not guilty. We are willing to compensate in full. I ask that young Master Han show magnanimity and let this matter rest. As for his headquarters being smashed to pieces, he naturally did not mention it at all, simply accepting it as the price of provoking someone they should never have provoked. Of course, he could still make Cheng Yunxiang pay. After all, it was the Cheng family that had stirred this trouble in the first place. The disciples of the Earth and Water faction all wore expressions of embarrassment and anger, yet none dared to speak under Ling Han's shadow. They only felt that this was the most shameful day of their lives. Ling Han swept his eyes across them and said, You refuse to accept it? Then why were you so blind yesterday, stirring up trouble at my property? But since Leader Yang is willing to yield, I'll give you a chance. Pay 100,000 silvers first, then tear down the Chen family's stores every day. Yang Tiandu looked toward Captain Zuo and said, We are upright subjects who respect justice and abide by the law. Don't start this nonsense. Ling Han waved his hands decisively in warning and said, I don't mind staying here a while longer. Seeing their leader suffer humiliation, the disciples of the Earth and Water faction felt miserable and furious, wishing they could rush up and tear Ling Han into pieces. However, the Imperial Guards were staring them down with hostile gazes, and they could only force themselves to abandon that thought. Fine. Yang Tiandu was unexpectedly direct. He made his decision swiftly, gritted his teeth, and agreed. He waved a hand, and very quickly a man arrived carrying an embroidered box. After taking it, Yang Tiandu tossed it to Ling Han. Ling Han opened it and saw 10 silver notes inside, each with a denomination of 10,000. He smiled faintly, walked up before Captain Zuo, handed over the notes, and said, Captain Zuo, this is a small token for the trouble you took coming here. Go eat well afterwards. Hiss, this fellow was far too generous. That was 100,000 silvers, not 10 scraps of toilet paper. Captain Zuo hurriedly refused and said, No need, no need. Safeguarding the citizens is the duty of us Imperial Guards. Those words made the Earth and Water faction's disciples want to beat someone senseless. When Ling Han was acting violently, why didn't you say anything then? How absurdly biased. Take it. I can't let you brothers come for nothing. Ling Han shoved the notes into his hands. To him, 100,000 silvers was like a light drizzle. Besides, this was the earth and water faction's dirty money. He didn't even want to touch it. Only then did Captain Zuo put the notes away, gratitude filling his heart toward Ling Han. Even though he couldn't keep the full 100,000 for himself, he would have to hand most of it upward when he returned. He could still keep 10,000 or so. That was an easy sum. Yang Tiandu's face twitched. That was his money, yet Ling Han used it to play the generous benefactor. And he didn't even get a single word of thanks. Young Master Han, you're satisfied now, right? He forced himself to endure the humiliation to the extreme, the veins on his forehead bulging. Heh! Ling Han chuckled lightly and said, I suppose so. Leader Yang, don't forget my earlier demand. If I see any of the Chen family stores still open, then I'll bring these friends here for tea. I definitely won't let young Master Han down, Yang Tiandu grumbled, almost roaring. Now, can you have that little girl stop? He pointed at Hu Nu. Ling Han had already stopped, but the little girl had not. She was still knocking down wall after wall. Each time a wall collapsed, she laughed sweetly, as if it were the most delightful game. Ling Han laughed aloud and called, Nu, time to go home. I still want to play, the little girl pouted, clearly not satisfied. Let's go meet, Ling Han coaxed. Meet! Hu Nu instantly sprang up and clung to Ling Han like a monkey. Everyone, we shall meet again so long as time endures. Ling Han strode off with swagger. Guang Yuan and the others followed behind him. Naturally, the Imperial Guards withdrew at once as well, leaving the people of the Earth and Water faction with hearts too pained even for tears as they stared at the desolation of their headquarters. Ling Han first went to Heavenly Martial Palace to mark the request as completed, so that the crowd could come collect their wages. Young Master Han, thank you. If you have work like this in the future, remember to call us brothers. One voice after another spoke to him. It had only been a fight without any danger, and they earned 10,000. This assignment was truly excellent. The missions they accepted before, like barging into a bandit's den to kill someone, were full of peril and could easily cost them their lives. They were basically trading life for silver. Even the few formidable spiritual ocean tier experts made an exception and smiled at Ling Han. A patron like Ling Han was someone even they wished to be on good terms with. Yet because of their status as spiritual ocean tier martial artists, they felt embarrassed to show it too openly. Everyone dispersed, but Guang Yuan remained behind, for he still needed to consult Ling Han regarding the problems in his cultivation. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Guang Yuan said. Although he had agreed to be hired by Ling Han and had received payment, he naturally needed another way to resolve the issue with cultivation. Ling Han's lips curled into a smile, and he said, Be my attendant for a year.